in line with global best practice, what we found in the university when we got there was that there were hundreds of individuals who had employment letters but had never been to that university. Many of them do not live in Edo State. Several others were living abroad. And the contention was that Ambrose University was something given to certain persons to take care of themselves, not really to render service. And we felt that that was wrong. But we found that the abuse was most pronounced in the non-essential service areas, the security area, and then the hostel management, the cleaning, the gardening. We just had people who had letters who were not bothered to come to work. So we decided that it was time to concession these non-essential services to persons outside the university who could run it well. Only to the extent that because of the town and ground relations, 80% of the staff to be recruited by them must be from within the cleaning and hostel management, and then Santana Security Service handling the security services. What then happened now was this. We identified that certain persons would have to be displaced. So we made it clear, because of the competitive salaries that these ones offer, we asked those who were formerly in the security services to now move on to this newly registered company to which the service had been outsourced. Some took the opportunity, others did not. We saw another category of security staff in the school. They were called casual workers, both in security and cleaning. They just had a letter. So what they did was every month they would just come collect the money, and it was 20,000 naira. And we said, what is all this? The people providing security now and cleaning are paying as much as 60,000 naira. In fact, their supervisors earn as much as 75,000, 80,000. And we felt that it was better for them to migrate to these areas. But that will now mean that they had to come to work. So they resisted that and refused to come. So what did we do? We compiled all the adult staffers. It came to 240. And we decided to give them 3 months' salary, and we sent them out. Of course, you've been following AAU. We created a lot of hoopla. But we had been sent there to go and do a job. And we stopped to doing that job. So casuals went out. Since then, the ones who refused to migrate to these companies have actually been in the school. Initially, we took them off the payroll because they were not doing anything. They just come, hang around. But a few months before election, politicians took advantage of that and began to make a lot of noise. We are being owed salary. We are not being paid. We caved into pressure temporarily and put them back on the payroll, this category of persons. And we've been paying them till March salary. By the way, we just paid April salary. We'll come to that in the financials. So one of the prayers we are going to be making to the governor later today is to ask him to make a categorical statement, whether it is possible for people who don't work, who are refused to migrate to the new area created, where they will even earn more in many cases, to continue to get salaries for doing nothing. Only His Excellency can make a categorical statement on that. The second is that we now have a situation where you have persons who are in the school who do not want to work. We ask them, those of you who have certificates, who have improved yourself, we set up a conversion committee headed by a deputy vice chancellor with membership sought from all categories of staff. Apply to be converted on the strength of the qualifications you now have. Move away from here and be somewhere to do a job, a day's job for a day's pay. They have bluntly refused. As at the last time we asked the registrar, less than 20 people had applied for conversion. And the total number we are talking about is 256. So that decision had to be taken. I'll be coming back to personnel, because there are a few edges we need to smoothen, but I need to tie the financials to that. So we'll move on to the financials, Your Excellency. We here have income and expenditure from 2021 till date. One of the things that His Excellency emphasized when we were going there was that in line with his policy of committing more resources to basic education and vocational, higher institutions needed to find a way to make sure that the university can carry a lot of its own burden. And we took that to heart. So we'll go through this and then we'll tell you what innovative steps we have taken in boosting revenue and ensuring that expenditures have passed the threshold of fidelity. So that you don't find that from what we saw, a lot of the money that was being spent was just going into private pockets. So for 2021, sir, you go through the months January till December, total of 6,113,595,795 naira 28 kobo. And then we have expenditure of 6,110,417,238 naira 39 kobo. And we have this difference. There are certain explanations we need to make once we take it to 2023. I'll be coming there. Take 2022. There's the calling for the subvention that comes from the state government monthly to explain that it's actually 50 million, but after tax it became 41 million. One of the things we need to engage the governor on today is that this 9 million, 8 million plus that is being taken has to stop today, sir. And I'll tell you why. Before we came into that place, the school was not paying tax at all. There was no paying. Every time the IRS sent a code for payment, the unions resisted it. We have a member of the SIT who is a senior professor at Bar in the University of Benin, and she will tell you the average staff of AAU receives higher than any staff at all in the University of Benin. Far higher, and it's there in the public space for you to verify. Call 10 staff. They receive far higher, and it's dubious. The reason is that they were not paying their taxes. So we got in there and discovered that over 2 billion naira was being owed to the state government from taxes that were never paid. So we engaged the chairman IRS. We sat down and said, look, we can't continue like this. We don't know what will happen to the past, but now that we are here, let us resolve to know the assessment regime that you are operating. So they gave us the code, the bursar, the registrar, the management, and some members of the SIT who have figures. They sat down in the conference room of the SIT for several days and worked out what is acceptable to all parties. And we committed that going from there, we'll be paying our taxes. And the chairman of IRS will confirm to you that since that meeting, our correct taxes are being paid. Which brings me back to this, sir. Predating the Obaseki administration, this issue of tax burden and refusal to pay had been there, because 2 billion is not what you accumulate in a few months. The reason the school didn't bother was that the state government then was giving not less than 298 million naira as subvention to the school. And all the school fees, all the IGRO collected within, the school retained. So government was simply just taking money, 298, and giving to the school. So it was a free-for-all. It was like a bazaar. They were not paying taxes. There was so much money available for them to spend. What now happened was that, for lack of political will, the government at that time decided to be collecting tax from the money that they were giving to the university. So the government looked for what was like a soft landing. They would give 298 million and calculate what they feel should be tax payable by the school as paid, and take it from that amount that we're giving them. It is that regime that continued that we have about 8-point-something million still being taken off our tax. We are now paying our correct taxes. Therefore, the 50 million that government gives to the school must be intact for the school to spend. Your Excellency, we crave your indulgence. The current tax we are paying to the Edo State government from AAU for all of these months since that meeting is 32,149,759. If you have variation, maybe little here and there, pending or dependent on what the staff movement, maybe retirement and all that is. But this is the figure that we'll be paying by and large. So that's why we have this subvention in there. But you will notice that there are a few months where you have 82 million. What accounts for that is the delay in the release of the monthly subvention. So the 82 is the exact 2 months that had not been released. Right from the award, the time of award, the VAT and the tax is taken away. In fact, the school has no control over that. The reason this malaise came out is because after deducting, they left it within the system. And in some cases, we're no longer deducting at all. Now, I'd like to throw light on the highlighted months. In June of 2021, the then Vice Chancellor, the then acting Vice Chancellor, Professor Osadolo, appealed to the SIT to reach out to the governor to get some support by way of release of funds. The governor released 500 million. That's why you have 541 in June. In September, he made another appeal, and the governor released 250 million. That's why we have 291. As to whether those monies were properly and judiciously applied is a matter to be treated at another level. But based on what we felt, when subsequent requests came, we knew that it would be wrong, it would be scandalous to go back to the governor to ask him to release another amount. So since then, we have not asked the governor for 1 naira to be put into that school extra outside this 41 million. And as you will find as we get along, we have money to keep that school afloat. So salaries and pensions monthly, the outlook here, you'll find that for salaries and pensions, this represents what went out every month. As to why you have these discrepancies, we will also explain that as we get along. This fluctuation in figures, we'll explain that. For gratuity, we'll be engaging the governor again today. There's a legacy issue. For over 15 years, government had said that institutions should key into the contributory pension scheme. One thing you need to know, in AAU, they enjoy not following instructions. It's like they are a law unto themselves. That's what they've been. So in spite of the fact that other institutions were keen in, they couldn't bother. So they continued with the pension regime and gratuities were mounting. As we speak, the gratuity burden is there. It's one thing we're asking the governor to make a categorical statement on. We just started that one. In our last presentation, we informed His Excellency that we had said contributory pensions must start. So PFAs were invited, they did a presentation, and then we decided that it would start. That's the process we are in now. Well, they are in the process. There's a committee headed by the DVC that is handling that, and we'll present the report to you when they are done. But just to mention, sir, that there's a point that we are trying to tackle. The council is the employer as far as the university is concerned, even though you have a visitor to the university. There is a component that the employer should contribute. Where we are now, sir, the state we are in now, we seriously doubt whether the AAU finances now can accommodate that part of the employer's contribution, which we need to put in place. Discussions are on. Part of what we said we needed to do, now that IGRO is being boosted gradually, we'll go through all of that later, how we can have a savings portion kept aside to attend to this. Only except that to the extent that as we are starting now, His Excellency will need to give some financial support to stabilize that. So we know from here we are paying our own percentage of the contributory pensions. We'll present that proposal to you, sir. You will notice that overheads, one of the biggest problems facing the AAU is spending on overheads. And perhaps number one in that is spending on diesel. The electricity situation, perhaps in the whole of those central senatorial districts, is very worrisome. At times for months, we can't say we have had electricity supply for up to 5 hours. And the bills that they bring, even the BADC, at times 40 million. My chairman at a point, to get the school even running at all, had to approve over 40 million, sir. Backlog, for they were being owed. Diesel is another big business in AAU. The works department has officers who don't do any other thing apart from managing the purchase and dispensing of diesel. That's a very big business. And when you want to touch that area, oh, they say it's political. The entire community gathers. Because in AAU, almost everybody has a father, a mother, a son, a daughter, a nephew, a cousin, a niece, as a staff. So it's one big family. The moment you start contemplating something, it's gone out. But it's a battle we need to fight, and we have to fight it. Professional course in the university has a quota that you can admit. The bloated income that we had in the past was a make-believe. It was a facade. And I'll give you 3 examples. In the College of Medicine, until the effort we made recently to increase the number to 100, they were only allowed to graduate 50. But the least they have ever admitted in the College of Medicine is 800.
So what happens to the other people?
So
the 750.
This is what happens now. In the past, as part of efforts to solve this problem, for about 3 years, there was no graduation of medical students. So in 2022, last year, with the provost, we engaged the professional regulatory body. Because of the arrangement we had with them, last year they were able to induct some medical students, and then this year we inducted another 70. In fact, we had to meet with the Nigerian Medical Association and several other bodies to help us understand what the issues are and be less sentimental about this and address the issues dispassionately and objectively. So you have up to 4 batches now waiting to graduate. There's no clinicals. They can't graduate because you have 50. And they're there. They're just waiting. All right. So nursing. Nursing has 100. But in one admission, they'll do 1,000 because the cost sells, which will explain some of the malfeasance. In fact, it's an understatement to call it malfeasance. Some of the criminality that has gone on in these departments, which I'll dwell on as we get along. In nursing, as we speak, there are 635 waiting to graduate, but they have done their coursework, they have done 635. These are the things we have. This is for medicine, 635.
Nursing, 997.
For nursing, it's even higher, 997.
There.
Yes, sir.
So what are they doing?
They are waiting to graduate, sir, because it's turn by turn unlimited now. Because you can't graduate above a certain number. It is only now that we have brought sanity to the admission process. Oh, they will tell you, and they have a point. Political pressure.
From who?
From all over, sir. This is governor's list, of course, during the period when you have made it very clear. You even threatened us that if we yield to politics, there will be trouble. So, but outside the governor's office, even within the governor's office, people bring lists to say this is governor's list. Lists from all over. And when you have a management that can be easily threatened, because they may also not have their hands clean, they yield. So as these lists are coming, they are accommodated. And everybody is asking for law, nursing, MLS, and medicine. Those are the 4 things. And that's where we have the biggest problem. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They have so many people that let go, but they will not be admitted in the law school.
Yes.
They will not be admitted in the law school. The law school is saying that we did not tell you to
Admit this number. Yes, sir.
What we are going to take at a time is 20 or 30 or so.
Right.
So in other words, what happens? How many numbers do you have?
They are waiting. In law, we have 432 waiting.
So it will take them almost about 7 to 8 years.
No, sir. The reason
It will take 4 years.
about 4 years, sir. The reason law is a bit easier for us is that we can accommodate 120 for the law school. So we are. But the solution, sir, is what we put in place now. There must be fidelity in the admission process. There's no recklessness. Once you have a quota, you must stick to that quota. Even for the purpose of attrition, if you are adding maybe about 10 to accommodate eventual attrition. So we are managing to stick to that now as we speak. But we know that it is not enough to just give this directive. So part of what we are putting in place as part of the sustainability plan is to ensure that when we put the policy in place, nobody can deviate without even as much as going to jail or losing their jobs. That's where we are, sir. All right, move on. There's no identity. Okay, hold on. You notice that in 2022, around May, there's a surge to 1,184 million. Perhaps we should just address it now. In January, the National ASU called a strike. In February 14th, ASU members went on strike for federal universities. But our own state university and perhaps a few decided to join on sympathy basis. And the school was shut down. So you will notice that in April you have 61 million as income, there was no school. And in any case, the major bulk, as you have seen or you will see, of income for the university is school fees. When schools are not in session, where are you going to get the money from? The money that government brings as subvention, what is it going to do in payment of salary? So we called a meeting and said, look, if you have issues, they will be settled. But the only way you can save this university and clear outstanding arrears of salary, by the way, we met 8 months unpaid salary. We said we will clear this and ensure that payment is regular and that we are paying gross statement. We made a very dubious appellation called net salary, which is what brought us to the so-called indebtedness in terms of check-off dues. The unions never complained. Why management at that time kept paying net salary? So when you put all of those together, you have another 2 billion or so. But when they want to address the press, when they want to write those dubious articles, they say AAU is owing them for 16 months. They are actually saying that you have not paid their outstanding check-off dues. And we say that shouldn't be our business. However, it is something we will look at. But stay in school, they went on strike. So for 8 months, they were at home. In June, His Excellency came out with a policy of no work, no pay. And so we said, come back to work. If you don't come, you will not get 1 naira for this period. All of those agitations during politicking that you saw, all of those carrying pots on head, bringing coffins and writing people's names, they were all agitations insisting that management should pay the 8 months that they were at home for non-teaching and for teaching staff. And we said we're not going to pay. Apart from the fact that it would be ungodly to pay the person at work and pay the person who was not at work for 8 months the same amount just because you feel you have a right to go on strike. There is a government policy that says no work, no pay. So when in May, we were able to convince a few to come, and the governor had given us approval to do some targeted replacements of staff who were recalcitrant and were not wanting to go to work, We brought in some new staff in key areas. We went to the bank and collected a sum of 1 billion naira and offered that we'll pay 2 months immediately if you resume work. They collected the 2 months. They became more emboldened in staying away from the school. To announce that in our last report that we presented to the governor, within 4 or 5 months, this 1 billion loan was paid off. We made a sum of 330 million as loan taken by the school, also to pay salary in 2020. We cleared that debt. 2021, sorry. We cleared that debt. There was a 60 million which the then council chairman insisted should be used to buy a special vehicle for him. We cleared the 60 million naira debt. The school is running, we are paying salaries, and those we have not paid salary, we also let His Excellency know now that these categories of persons, we didn't pay them 1 naira. And until you give the instruction, we will not pay them. Move on to the other issues. In January, again, yes, just to say that we have paid April salary. We paid April salary, and the total for April salary is 416 million. You see that there's a difference between what we had in March and what we now have in April. In March was when we concluded, in the payment of March salary, we concluded what we call the make-up salaries. When there were a lot of agitations, I'm sure those of you who were in those states, in Nigeria, it was all over the place. A lot of misinformation, a lot of outright lies, a lot of half-truths were paraded in the media. And it is not the place of SIT to engage in media. The only way the media can hear us, the public can hear us, is the opportunity provided by His Excellency. So we remained quiet. Now, for that period, which you have as 629, we had to now begin to, like I said before, all those persons who were at work but they were not working, who refused to convert, who refused to join the new company that was now running these services, we had to pay all of them. Just so that there could be peace in that area and peace in the state. We paid them. Now, reality has something, we are back where we are, so we have 460 million. Just to again announce, because the public can hear us. Sir, I realized that I called you about 2 months ago and said, there's trouble brewing. The College of Medicine brought a list of over 20 staff, outside the ones we had acceded to them before, to say we must employ them as honorary lecturers. Honorary lecturers means you are a staff of highest age, but you render service to the university in the training of our doctors in the clinicals. That's all. They said they must employ them, and we acceded. Chairman approved, and we gave them everything. They now insisted that there were those who were giving letters before we even got in there, but they were not put on payroll, that we must put them on payroll. We acceded to all of this to have peace in the college. They now said because some of the people who were supposed to get letters had not gotten letters, they were going on strike. I called the chairperson of MD Khan and I said, Madam, we're on phone for over an hour. It was after that I called the governor. I said, Madam, you can't do this. Don't you even think about the students. Go to the register, you will see that these letters are there. If there's a delay in issuing these letters, engage management for God's sake. Don't go on strike. I said, remember that there's a policy of no work, no place. I should leave that one. Your Excellency, sir, the whole of April, they didn't go to work. We've paid them salaries, we are not owing anything. In this April salary, we removed all their names from payroll. If the governor wants us to pay people who didn't work, he will tell us.
I don't have such authority.
God bless you, sir. We met a situation where the staff salaries, even when they called it net salary, kept rising every month by at least 50 million. That's what we meant from 2019, 2020, and we said something was wrong. Of course, there's a flag. Raises a flag immediately. So Mrs. Ima Okundaye, who is the financial expert within the SIT, worked closely with Professor Ikworia and some other members and discovered that a lot of these increases were spurious and could not be defended. So we started to, after that diagnosis, we started to take steps. And we realized that the major problem in the school is that everything was manual. So we moved for automation, first of registry and automation of bursary. Governor approved our request, and we went ahead to spend money within the school to have the registry automated and the bursary automated. I'd like to announce that that automation is complete. What is happening within the school now is that they are training staff and testing this process to ensure that if there are a few errors here and there, they are eliminated. We are hopeful that in the next 30 to 60 days, the school will begin to use these automated platforms. Now, why is it important? Sorry, sir. I gave you a list. I'm going to add two. The reason I'm adding two, one of them, remember we said in our last presentation that in 2019, somebody came from a university somewhere to come and do sabbatical in AAU. Sabbatical for 1 year, sir. And it was paid every month, about 400,000.
Yes.
And then at the end of 1 year, he left. Only for us to discover in 2022, late 2022, that since that 2019, the man has been getting his salary regularly. And it came to 16 million naira. The legal unit, headed by, legal side of SIT, has been pursuing that money. He has written several letters. He's not denying that he collected the money. In fact, yes, sir. In fact, when the discussion started, he said the money was in the account. He didn't touch it. When we now said, bring the money, in the first place, he said he was going to pay it in 2 installments, 8 million, 8 million. Since then, he's been tossing us around. And later, he said he was going to be paying 400,000 every month. He paid 2 months, and since then, we have not heard anything from him. Sorry, sir. I will bring his name now. The second one, which is a major area that we must address, getting along. One of the things that has cast AAU in bad light globally is the issue of certificates and transcripts. The biggest business in AAU is transcript business and certificates. Your Excellency, sir, that bearded man there, Omobudiago, is a foremost leader within the civil society. Thank you, sir.
I said the civil society is here, members of the Alumni Association are dialed in.
Thank you, sir. A few weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago, he called me to say, look, we know what to do. We are just telling you because of the relationship we have with you. We will march on AAU. Students who finished from post-science in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, they don't know their certificate. They don't know what the certificate looks like. They can't see their result. But they've done their projects, they have graduated. And I said, please march on the school. Later, I called him, I said that in anger, don't march on the school. Now lead your people to go and meet with the management. So I called the vice chancellor. I said, these people are coming, though. They don't hear anything, though. They are coming. Prepare for them. To cut a long story short, sir, after that engagement with them, the same school that couldn't give certificates for 4 years assured them that by Monday, those certificates will be ready. The results will be ready. Sorry, sir. So the point we're making is that there's a, I don't want to say there's a cabal. Oh my God. In transcript, the governor himself has had to refer complaints about transcripts sent to him and had to send them to me. And incidentally, when such complaints come, and they know that it's tied to government and SIT, in 48 hours, it's ready. The sad case of a woman who went abroad, had lost admission, lost her job. When she came back, she had to call Matthew to say. So when Sedogomen called me, and I said, we'll handle it. So we called her. What we are looking for is just evidence. She has recorded, it's on that list. A person who was dismissed, an associate professor who was dismissed from that university last year, is on Sapler Road, Benin here, collecting money for transcripts. So we have recordings. Oh, we have them. We have voice recordings. And then we have statements that he made on tape. When we took her to the school, guess what, sir? That same day, they gave him his statement of result.
gave her that same day that he went to ECMA. I said, go and meet the registrar. It was ready. And she is to collect the certificate on Tuesday. What more can I say? These are papers, sir. These AAU papers, these ones, I just brought a sample of this. You will see that payment was purportedly made for transcript. The officer who was to go through it, a newly appointed officer for that matter, because we're now looking for somebody who will at least be able to do the right thing. What they wrote on it now is fake. 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 So highly placed persons within the university are putting pressure on exam and records officers to do the wrong thing. Money will be exchanged hands, but it won't come into the university purse. Just to inform His Excellency that same person who discovered this has since been removed from that office. And the chairman has asked now the management to explain why the person who made this discovery was removed from office and another person brought in. All right. So we were looking at the staff, sir. For January 2,260, February 2,257, and then in March 1,971. At this point, people started staying away from work. And that's why you also had the salaries dropping. It came to a crescendo in April, where the school was totally deserted, until His Excellency's directive that those who don't resume work will not get salaries. People were at home. So people started coming gradually. So you see stability towards the end of the year. 2023, please. So in 2023, this is the outlook. We have 2,036, 2,268, 2,390. Now, what accounts for this is a combination of two factors. One, the new staff who were brought in to hold the university in the absence of the old ones. This is when we started paying their salary. And two, there were those who had left. It dawned on them now that after the stunt they pulled during the campaign period, reality has dawned. So they started returning. And we said, we don't have a problem. Once we know when you return to work, we'll start paying you from there. But it's immoral to insist that while you were at home, perhaps doing other things, you should get paid. And we say it's not going to happen. All right. So the crescendo is that in April, salary, we are paid now 416 million. Move on. Okay, this one. This is what our security chief was asking. Take it back there.
Oh, sorry.
Backwards.
2023? Okay.
Commissioner, sir, this will answer your question. As of January, we were in the process of verifying the status of certain staffers as to whether they were at work for certain periods or not. Your Excellency, going forward, you are very much interested in stabilizing that place. What we keep hearing, and I don't know, it may be right, is that the university is unique, it's different from every other service. It's not like civil service, it's not like other parastatals. We don't have to come to work as long as we are able to satisfy our students. And I'll give you a classical example. We had a meeting with the academic staff in college to just drive home the point that it can't be business as usual. There is what they call monthly returns. Why would you not sign monthly returns? So we know that you are at work. They say, no, you don't understand the university. To buttress their point, they mentioned a particular professor. He resumes at the beginning of the session. In 2 weeks, he has finished the session work and is out. You don't see him again until next session. I'm telling you what staff of college told us. They are special, and they say we should pay that. We are not paying anything. We won't pay that one. Because you come to work, If it is possible to do 1 year work in 2 weeks, then why do we need to build, why do we have structures? There's no need. It's not necessary. That's where we are, sir. So we take time to verify staff who should be entitled to salary because we have limited funds. We have freed funds from all over the place where they used to go to. It's only fair that we use it judiciously and pay those who actually work so that we do not give an incentive to criminals to keep doing what they are doing. That's part of the reason for the fight. So the categories of persons yet to be paid, you have number 174 for biometric reasons. Look, what was the reason for the biometric? The governor studied the visitation panel report. He didn't just wake up and the visitation panel report stated clearly that you had hundreds of staff of AAU who shouldn't be there. Many do not have requisite papers. Many have overstayed their time in the university. Many are outside the country. Sorry, sir. I will bring somebody, it's not here now. I was in a vehicle with him when somebody called him from the UK because he was a former Students' Union president of the school and was asking how to arrange that kind of thing that he did for undergraduate study. He wants to do his master's. So I became curious, what is it? Throughout the master's period, he won't come to Nigeria. He won't come. A lecturer or lecturers, the cabals, will just take charge of everything. Sorry, sir, we are probing a report we got now that somebody paid 300,000 naira to a lecturer now for project. So, the students you are asking to report these malfeasance are direct beneficiaries. You are telling them you don't need to work, just look for the money. So many of them don't come to report because they are also beneficiaries. When we come to cases of discipline, where we will be going soon, you will understand what we are fighting there. A draft copy that we prepared for new law for AAU is ready. We have handed it over to the Secretary of State Government for action. We have cases in court. For several years, all the staff, either terminated or dismissed, found their way back into the school. They won their cases in court. And I'll tell you why that was so. Very, very dubious process. The university lawyers are members of the union. And most of them are junior staff. So they have senior colleagues who have cases in court. They collect the files from them and go and give to their lawyers. Where papers need to be pulled out and others need to be added, they just did that. So nobody ever got punished for anything. Since we came there, sir, they are laboring to win one case in court. And that's because we took it out and asked the secretary to the SIT, Demudia Amire Esquire, to handle all the cases. So what you have is that we have concluded 3 cases in favor of the university. There are 14 pending and 3 withdrawn by those who filed those cases. When His Excellency mentioned that we needed time to put things right, therefore suspend the activities of unions, we moved spiritedly to do the things we needed to do. After that, we also appealed to His Excellency. In recognition of the rights of workers to associate, we appeal to His Excellency to lift that suspension. The union still insisted that after it had been lifted, that they needed a judgment from court just to make a point. And we said it was an exercise in futility. So this is the distribution. National Industrial Court, we have 10 cases of persons who were dismissed or terminated. High Court in Ekpoma, we have 2. Court of Appeal Benin, we have 2. You have a senior lecturer who is the head of ICT as member. You have a deputy registrar, Ifiani, who is a member. You have 2 other members representing both the senior and the junior staff. They are there. They are not from outside, sir. So we expect that staff should get justice and be confident that they will get justice. Then to represent SIT in observer, we have Professor Esther Ikworela and one from Austin Osakue. We are always there to observe. So we are confident that justice will be done. So we refer cases there. Now we have concluded 132 cases, 77 pending. Go. At the pace we are going. And the people who are involved are among the most powerful people. You have energies, you have very senior politicians who are involved in grabbing the lands of the. And when you talk, I don't want to go into all of that, but we have a list of all the lands and landed properties. There is one that we need to meet with you for because we will need your authority. We have a land in one of the most vantage locations in Abuja, the Katankpe district. Katankpe. We've gone there. We have had several proposals from developers that they will build, is it flats now? And then, university is not putting 1 naira. They will take some for their investment and hand some over to the university, where the university can be collecting rents. We will send that proposal to you, sir. Some of the milestones I've just run through quickly. I've talked about automation. We are done with that. Registry and bursary is being tested now, and training of staff is ongoing. We embarked on building an incinerator. It's done, sir. We discussed with Charles, the head of waste management here, all the waste around the Ekmoma area, we are willing to take them now. They will pay a token for it. Instead of looking for where to dump refuse, we can now treat refuse. So we are in that process now, and it's a major IGRO. Because university has land. AAU has one. I can't compare, but we have tens of thousands of hectares. We don't have a problem with that. Then an internal fuel dump. You know, I was saying that diesel is big business. We've discussed with the NMPC marketers how they can be giving us a truckload from time to time, which we now monitor through vouchers, so that if you must take diesel at all, it will pass through checks to ensure that it's not business as usual. Of course, we save money by outsourcing the non-essential services of hostel management, security, gardening, and so on. Then we have what we call intelligent access and security management. What they have done is that every staff now has an access card, which you can use for multiple purposes. So we are able to tell now whether you are a staff or not. And very soon we are able to tell how many times you have come into the university, because it's only that access card that will grant you. And the information goes into a retrieval system which is being monitored. Then entrance into the school is no longer free for non-staff and students. If you are a visitor to AAU, I think it's 100 naira or 200 naira. If you are a visitor to AAU, because one of the things in AAU is that, I know it was in those days, in front of Hall 1, people park vehicles and guests begin to troop out. We want to control that. But if you are able to pass the test, pay 200 naira and come in, you want to come and visit, you want to come and transact business in the administrative block, you want to go and transact business in faculties or departments, maybe you want to put requests for certificates, or please just pay 200 naira and come into the school so that your vehicle is secure. We don't say vehicles are parked at owner's risk, no, because there is a company that is managing protection of vehicles. Or you just pay a token. That's where we are. And they have terminals around the university. And then they are now also managing the university fleet. What has happened is that certain bodies like TED Fund, Presidential Needs Assessment in the past gave them vehicles. One of the cases that is also coming now is somebody who was printing, a professor, printing tickets by himself to give to customers who wanted to hire buses. keke riders who ply within the school. There's a token we ask them to pay. If you are operating within the school, you pay a token to take students around. He printed tickets for 2 years, about 2 years, was selling by themselves. So they've calculated again, it ran into millions. His name is So all of these come under fleet management. You can no longer pay anything now in cash. What they are doing now is that they try to beat it. Weekends, when people are not watching, you quickly do it. But we know that one day you will be caught. Medical students of AAU who have the benefit of using ISTH for clinicals, they are presently paying 165,000 a year to train as a doctor. Your Excellency, we had a meeting with them and said, look, we will provide incentives to show them one of those incentives. The recent batch of 70 graduates from college, because they were graduating late, they missed out on house marshals. 7 of them met us here in Government House. Within 10 minutes, we carried their papers to the SSG, who invited the Central Hospital people. And by the next day, they had resumed. And I said, these are the kind of strategic incentives that government can provide for you. But you can't, how can you train? So for 5 years, even for 6, 7 years, you are paying less than 1 million to train a medical doctor with those facilities. And we are paying, what the school fees collected in college is less than 1/10 of what we spend on college. Your Excellency, we just finished a beautiful clinical hostel. We didn't get the money from outside, from within the school. Beautiful, under the supervision of Engineer Mohammed. That hostel has been finished, which is one of the things that Medical Dental Council of Nigeria asked us to put in place to increase our quota from 50 to 100. We've concluded with supplementary papers, and we are getting that increase before the next. We can't admit medical students now for the next 3 years because they won't allow you to admit when you have so many batches to graduate. And in the midst of that, any little thing they say they want to go on strike. One government to immediately intervene in the school hostels through the urgent release of funds. Okay, I left this one out. Some time ago, we approached His Excellency to intervene in hostels because one of the core areas that the governor focused on was the welfare of students. In his own words, the reason the school is open is because of the students. And hostel is one major area in terms of welfare. You can't collect money from students and leave them in an environment that is not fit even for bringing up animals. I don't want to show pictures here. We have pictures, it will shock you. So sometime ago, we approached His Excellency. Excellency directed an officer in government to visit the school and do an assessment at 2 levels. Number 1, Dangote gave us a hostel, which they're almost done with, but we had no beds. So the governor directed, and beds were brought. How many? About how many beds? 288 beds, because there are 288 spaces. So 288 beds were brought to the school for both the Dangote male hostel and Dangote female hostel. Just last week, the chairman asked that 20 million naira be released for quick intervention. And what does it take? We are looking at sewage, pipes, toilets, electricity, a few things. That 20 million, I don't know whether it's been released. That's another area. When policy is made, implementation becomes another matter. But we are on it. Very quickly, sir, we require urgent intervention. We are not looking for 2 billion. What 100 million can do to those hostels right now is quite a lot. And the governor has 2 options, in my opinion. We either take advantage of the Directorate of Physical Planning within the university to manage this, or we send somebody from outside under the supervision and monitoring of the DPP. The full implementation of the no work, no play policy, well, maybe full implementation is begging the matter. We are already implementing. We just want to be sure, because of the voices that are coming from here and there, we want to be sure that the governor's position has not changed, that for anybody who does not work, he does not get paid. While saying that, I just remember now that there's a scripture in the Bible that says those who must eat must work. Number 4, government directives on the status of staff who, number 1, refuse to participate in the biometric exercise ordered by the visitor to the university. If the governor says, well, it's no longer necessary, pay these people, we will. Then those who fail the biometric verification exercise on account of discrepancies in ages in their personal files. Just to mention that some of them are already being tried by the University Staff Disciplinary Committee. When the whole of that trial, that gamut of trial ends, we will bring the report to His Excellency to take a decision. Because many of them have been recommended for dismissal. Recall that a temporary staff was disengaged in that university some months ago, and it cost a whole lot. Another staff who carried 3 coffins to the front of the university, the governor's name was on one, the chairman's name was on one, my name was on one. And we said, you need to retire. You have been too much of a problem. A lot of, and they now brought out a list of hundreds of people who had retired. It wasn't true. Now, government directives on redundant staff arising from outsourcing of the non-essential services in the university, cleaning, hostel management, and gardening. This one ought to be easy, but because of the number, they still have a choice. Get converted, be doing some work, and you will get paid. But to just idle around, because you have protection of senior people within the university, then you should be out. That's our position. Governor needs to let us know. Directives on ongoing implementation of contributory pension scheme. We are bringing that proposal to the governor for his attention. Then outstanding gratuity. That's a major problem. Of course, we are paying pension regularly. In fact, the chairman directed that pension should even be paid before salaries. So what we have done is to pay them together, salaries and pensions. So we don't have an issue there. Go. Then directives on unpaid check-off dues and cooperative remittances between 2019 and early 2021. Management of the university decided to be paying what they call net salary. Recently, although we had to suspend the policy, it wasn't a policy, an action that we needed to take. If you go to Ekoma, vehicles are littering all over the place. You have vehicles, some serviceable, others unserviceable. What happens is that in the university, if you want to go, you are a senior officer, you want to go on weekend relaxation, you call people and say, retire 200,000. So at that time, vehicles will start getting bad. So you have several vehicles lying around, and we felt that we needed to do an auctioning. So we approached the Ministry of Transport, the auctioneers. They brought 3, they screened them, and I think they eventually picked 1.
I want to, on behalf of the government of Edo State, appreciate the rigor, professionalism, and commitment that you have undertaken so far in your assignments as members of the state's intervention team of the Ambrose Ali University. You recall very vividly when we persuaded most of you to take on this assignment and appeals to you that this is an assignment for the states and for country. And there's no amount of money we can pay you to do what is required for you to. I want to state that even though you haven't finished the assignment, you haven't totally completed it, it is so clear and obvious that you have put in a lot of time. You've sacrificed quite a lot of your time, your person, your convenience to get us to where we are today. Respect for the legacy of the late Professor Ambrose Ali is to restore this university back to that of his dreams. He did not mean this university to be an ethnic university. He wanted it to be a state university and positioned it as such. So that view that AAU belongs to any group or it's an ethnic university must be, must be cancelled immediately. It is Edo State University. And the investments are from the taxpayers in Edo State. That's not the only state university we have. So we have a portfolio of schools, and the Ministry of Education is coming up with policies governing all our tertiary institutions and the investments we've made and we're going to make in our tertiary schools. As I assured in the last meeting, the town hall in Nekoma on campus, we need to begin to wind down the activities of SIT so that we can have in place the governing council so that the university can proceed. But before we do that, we have to sweep clean all this mess that you have found. I want to assure you that as a government, we have the political will. And the reason why we must do this is that we're undertaking major transformation in our educational system. See the advances we've made at the basic and foundational level. Edo Best, now we're going into GSS, SSS, TVET. In another 3 to 5 years, these students will be ending up and looking for spaces in our state university. We don't want the standards they are coming with to be higher than that of the universities they seek to be admitted into. That's why we must clean up these universities, position them, put them in a position that when these children are aspiring to universities or schools of higher education within the state, they are going to be going to schools that can offer them knowledge that they require and they don't acquire to date. Not going to schools that have nothing to offer them. What we would like you to do in terms of your land and property, please, can you write to us, since we have a committee and law in place now on protection of private property, so that we can take the cases of the encroachment on those properties to those to that tribunal or court, so that we can start the process. In areas where the abuse is so rampant, then we undertake the Obaseki action, because we have a special intervention team. We'll take them there and dislodge everybody who has stolen your property and reclaim your school land from them. So let us have the petitions in, and we will commence action immediately. In terms of the work no pay policy, it hasn't changed. In Edo State government, that is what we implement. So I'm stating publicly to you here now that anybody who hasn't worked cannot be paid. And if any one of them wants to hold us to ransom, then we are prepared as a government to take them on. In terms of those who haven't undertaken biometrics and all of that, I will not want to disclose now. I will want to have a private session with you on the strategy and what we need to do. And for the issue of implementation of pensions, we need to sit and have a team to go through. We need to have the actual calculations done, like we've done for the state, and then put in place a plan to on how to liquidate the outstanding gratuities and pensions. On the directives of unpaid check of dues, and we will want to sit with you and look at the numbers and accounts properly, understand the implications before we make a commitment on that. I will also want a survey done to see how many children of the staff of AAU attend that university, so that we'll see whether, having graduated with the degrees they have, they are happy with what's going on in school and they are prepared to give their own children the kind of education that they are offering other people's children in AAU. To be interesting to have that survey done so that we understand what the problem really is. Is it that their standards are that low, or they are deliberately taking money from AAU to go and give their own children better education elsewhere? Like I said, we will accept this interim report and give you a feedback on the issues raised, but immediately, commencing immediately, investigations must begin, and we must begin prosecution of everybody involved. And we will have to write to ASU. I don't think the intention of ASU is to kill our university or destroy our university. I don't believe that's the intention. But as a government, we're prepared to fight anybody, including the unions, to ensure that we train our children. If the intention of the union is to make the school a better place for learning, and our intention is also to make the school a better place for learning, then we should be partners. And there's no need for these conflicts and these endless strikes. So we will have to engage with the leadership, national leadership of ASU, and explain our displeasure at what's going on with their branch in the university, and that as a state, we are prepared to take those local unions on for the benefit of quality education for our children in Edo State.